Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet Tyro to continue our Woody Allen retrospective. I am your host, Donald Wonder, and I'm looking at directly in the face Simon Rad.
What? I wasn't sleeping. No. I was just resting my eyes. Hey, wait.
Hey guys, if you were here last time, you were here with us. We're still at the Simon Rad headquarters doing another recording. It's fun, and we're doing another sidestep. Before we do that, guys, last time, if you were on the retrospective, you saw us talk about that Woody Allen movie, Everybody Says I Love You, which is a lie. If you want to check out that discussion, click on the top right corner of the YouTube card to go back there. Guys, I'm not going to go through the usual spiel because this talk, discussion, review is going to be for a very special Woody Allen sidestep movie that not a lot of people have seen, but because
I think the total number of people that have seen it is 2. You and me. That's about it.
You know, and we might even get into something that the general audience might not even know, that Woody Allen is actually a musician himself. And guys, if you don't know what we're talking about a 1997 documentary called Wild Man's Blues. And the name of the movie, of the documentary, is based off a song. I'm not even going to get into the minutiae of that, but it's based off a song. Woody Allen's into jazz. He plays the clarinet. He's been playing the clarinet for over 30 years, and he actually does this with a jazz band, which I couldn't find their actual band title, so they usually go by the Woody Allen New Orleans Jazz Band Group. And again,
creative.
Whatever.
Very creative.
I had to check online because there was tickets going, because we do these recordings in London, and just this year 2017 he was at the Royal Albert Hall. He's been all over the world, and this documentary focuses when he was doing a 1996 European world tour. And the reason why we're discussing this one, because a lot of you guys thinking this ain't a goddamn movie, why are you covering
It's
this?
also a contradiction. It cannot be a world tour if it's only Europe.
Well, you know what?
A European tour.
Yeah, my mistake. It was a European tour. You're not the only one tired, Tom. I'm tired too. It's been a long day. And again,
I just thought the filmmakers were hypocrites because they're like, well, it's a world tour. I'm like, it ain't a world tour just because you left the United States.
well, we're not even going to get to US mind state. Outside of the US, everything else is a world. The US is a world in itself, since they think they're the world powers. You see, Simon, you're making us digress. We've got to talk about this movie. Guys, listen. This is a behind-the-scenes look at Woody Allen. Now, if you've been listening to us talk about Woody Allen, we already spoke about the controversy. We spoke about Woody Allen when he did his most recent Facebook Live interview. So to be honest with you, in a certain way, we're not seeing things we don't already know, but this...
you're seeing it direct. Like, this is really, there's no commentary. It's just the camera's rolling, and you get to see him and Sun-Yi interact with each other. And me and you were talking about this while watching this very entertaining movie. Jesus Christ. That basically, this is like a sneaky reality show, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they sold him on the idea that in order to finance the tour, because they're flying around in a private jet, right?
Yeah.
In order to finance the tour, they're gonna make this documentary part of it. It's part of the deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's how they got him on board. But this is not really about the music or the tour. They show a little bit of it, and even what they show is too freaking much. But it's really about, I think, his friends, because the guy in charge of the production company is working with, at this point, is his close friend, right?
Yeah, his close friend was the guy behind his best friend. I forgot, is it Skyline? One of the production companies that makes his movies. Yeah. His best friends are behind us. And also the documentarian, who is a woman by the name of, give me a second to find it, or I'll find it later, Barbara Copel is a documentarian. She does a lot of... She's a film director, but she does documentaries.
Yeah,
she's in this as well.
But everybody in this movie is very friendly. So they're kind of close to each other. So I think they really thought it would be a good idea after the storm has settled and they got married at this point with Sun-Yi to really show them as a couple. You really see them that this is a normal relationship. And actually that she's the adult in the relationship, because all she does is really keep Woody Allen in check. Keep reminding him, don't forget the band members' names. Tell them that they did a good job. Don't sign things like you're signing an autograph. Make sure people can read what you write. Otherwise, they won't know what you're talking about. Don't play the songs this way. Play the songs that way. You know, he's really being kept in check by a very intelligent, smart, mature woman while he's just doing his thing. I mean, the first thing they do is land in Paris, because apparently Woody Allen can't land on the continent of Europe if he doesn't start in Paris. That's the only thing that makes him register that, okay, I'm in Europe. I can continue my journey. So they have to take a whole sidestep just to land in Paris first. Which I'm like, of course you're going to make this documentary because there ain't no way anybody's going to finance your damn uniqueness, your quirks.
At this point, Woody Allen's such a legend of film. I think anyone would pay to see him. And the ironic thing is, if you've been following Woody Allen talking about his music career, he says he's not the greatest musician. He says his bandmates are more talented than him. So when you're watching them perform in this documentary movie, it's the music itself, and again, I'm not gonna really get into it because I'm not qualified to really criticize this type of music. It basically, when you hear the music, you're like, okay, this is the music he uses in 80% of his movies, especially for the intros, and it's like, okay, it's cool to see him playing the clarinet with his band, which is really cool. You see the other band members, but again, if you're talking about percentages, it's like 40% is the performance and 60% is Woody behind the scenes with Swingin, Previn, Allen, whatever, and them together. And it's fine, it's interesting, and it is nice to see them being a couple and to see that, behind all the controversy, there is a couple there is a relationship there. It is somewhat nurturing. It's kind of fun to watch, but this is a movie for the fans, for the diehards. You can't really get this movie on its own. It is on Amazon. You can buy it separately, which is why we bought it. And I was curious to see what this had to offer because I knew this was going to be more of a behind the scenes look at Woody Allen rather than a concert documentary, because it's really not a concert documentary. It's more of a behind the scenes of Woody Allen. And to be honest with you, the most interesting things, and this is going to sound a bit like a contradiction since it's meant to be the musical documentary, is when he talks about his movies, which happens a few times. And I think there's one time in particular which you found funny is when he was bringing up the fact that Swingin doesn't even watch his movies, doesn't like his movies, and he's trying to persuade her, there's one movie I made that I think you really like, and she's like, nah, whatever, what do you mean? And that exchange is kind of funny. And
it is weird. That's the best scene in the whole movie, but it's funny because it's weird because he's basically trying to sell her on watching Annie Hall, which he thinks she would really like.
But he doesn't care for, by the way. He's still
but he keeps saying, I don't feel strongly about it. I think it's meh, but you would like it.
You and your sketty friend. He actually says you and your twitty friends.
Teenage friends, and she's like, I don't know. I don't care about that movie at all. It's like
it's just funny.
And because the running theme of the whole thing is that the reason why they're sending him into Europe, because in Europe he's bigger than in the States.
Oh yeah, they make that. There's another scene where they talk about that in depth, and he's like, another woman, interiors. The Americans hate this shit. It's droning on, but over here they love. What did he actually said? They love my drawn out movies, right?
They love movies that are drawn out, and I'm good at making movies drawn out or something like that. Yeah. That's the whole. Again, if they don't have to trick him, if they wouldn't have had to trick him into making this movie, it would have been a better documentary.
Well, hold on. Actually, that's something that I really want to actually get your. I said this to you while I was watching this. When I was watching this documentary, I thought to myself, Woody Allen seems to be a really private person. Why is he letting them film him? And here's the thing. I would say that, he would use it as damage control himself, but he's showing in the part he doesn't really care about that. So I'm really surprised. You did point this out while I was watching that it is a bit framed. So, like there was a scene where they were walking the street and someone asked for his picture and they stopped. And then I was like, wow, man, I'm surprised Woody Allen stopped. And you was like, yeah, because he's being filmed for the documentary.
Yeah, it's part of the deal because those are the only interesting bits. This movie's boring as hell. But like there was a good bit where he talked about other directors because they asked him, "Why do you think your movies do so well in Europe, but some of them downright tank in the States?"
And he was actually getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and that's what he was saying that some other directors haven't. And he
was talking about that Fellini hasn't gotten it yet, and he couldn't imagine him achieving it. That's him being modest. But he also said that Steven Spielberg said he makes movies that he enjoyed as a kid. That's the type of movies he wants to make. And what was the other? I forgot the other example he brought.
He was talking about Marlon Brando as well, I think.
Yeah, but he talked about mostly in that segment. He talked about how directors make movies that they enjoyed themselves as a kid.
Yeah.
And when he was a kid, he liked a lot of European films.
He liked foreign films, and that's why he makes foreign. And actually,
that's why he thinks that Europe resonates with his movies
because he makes their movies. Basically,
he makes the boring ass drawn out movies. Nobody cares.
Well, I think that's surprising because his career never started that way. So when people see that now, for the majority of his life now, after the 70s and 80s, he really went down that European phase, and he's even now in the late year 2000s, he's really.
But I mean, he did fake documentaries, mockumentaries.
That's
He
true,
did Zelig, which again is just a very unique movie. It's like a fictional movie in a documentary format. I mean, he does, he did a science fiction movie, he did a musical.
I think it's just that he didn't start that way. You started with Take the Money and Run. Started with Bananas.
Yeah, again.
So people were thrown.
Yeah, that's another Woody Allen being full of it. He's like, when he's saying, I don't make movies about myself. Which, again, best scene, a second best scene in this movie.
Let's get to that. I know what you're going to... let's leave it for the very end.
Okay.
Let's leave it for the... Because there's one thing I do want to say. Again, guys, we reviewed this one or spoke about this one just because we're being completionists. My opinion on whether you should check this out or not is, if you haven't seen a shit ton of Woody Allen interviews, because honestly, the musical side, I've actually seen better musical concerts or things he did in jazz cafes on YouTube. This documentary, I don't really think it did the musical European tour that well, especially for the rest of the band. And even the way he's talking about, he forgets the band's names and stuff like that. It's like, he loves doing it, but I don't know, man. He still doesn't seem like a big people's person. There was never scenes where he was mingled with the band or talking with the guys. He was always with Swingin, and they were always talking about what he needs to do for the next performance. And it just seemed like he was alone again, planning the tour. And it was just, I know it's him and the band, but it really was about him and Swingin. And it's just like, that's fine. It's interesting to see if you're a Woody Allen fan. And I'm sure the band are just reaping. I'm not saying the band's not talented, but they're reaping the rewards of riding off the Woody Allen train, and it's a good deal. Don't get me wrong. I don't even think these guys really want that much limelight. They're probably happy with the deal they got. But again, if you really want to see the musical side of Woody Allen in its purest form, this is very hit and miss in that regard. But if you do want to see Woody Allen behind the scenes, before we get to that very last part, that means something I'm gonna laugh about. Tread carefully, because this is definitely for the die hard fans, and you will see people in this documentary saying how great Woody Allen is, but they're all in Europe. If he was in America at this time, they would still be out for blood for him, because he's still got a negative perception. But in Europe, we do love him here, and this was that documentary.
Yeah, I mean, this is 96. He still has that perception 20 years later today. You know, it's like they still run crazy ass CNN specials about him where they're like, well, okay, he was clearly accused just last week on Twitter, but if he doesn't like it, he can file a lawsuit, because that's what makes America great. You can sue anybody at any time. I'm like, is this cable news? What is this? It's like, slander is great because you can just sue.
And at the time of this, he made this movie, he was about to leave and go into his European movie phase, which he's still in now, in the 2000s, but at this point he was still in America doing. And when you watch his documentary, you're like, yeah, I can see why you decide to make the move to stick more to being in Europe to do your films, and that's where your next renaissance came, because we got so much love for you over here. But again, the documentary itself is boring. I'm not gonna lie. And as a musical, Woody Allen's musical European journey, I don't know, man.
There was no journey, because the man said he literally can't set foot on the continent. He has to go to Paris first. So ain't no journey in this movie. And it's framed really weird, because first I thought that they didn't know how to give this movie an arc, so they just want to frame him as an asshole.
Yeah.
Because the movie opens up with a very not Woody Allen-esque setting, because he's on a private jet
with dark scenes of his face in shadow.
Yeah, but not only that, just a total luxury. They're on a private jet. They're in a limousine. They're in this 5-star hotel. He just keeps complaining. He complains in a private jet. Then he complains about being in Europe. Then he complains about Paris. But then he's like, okay, I need to be in Paris and be in Europe. And then they go to a 5-star hotel, and then they just talk about how the food shit, about eating out of silverware. Like, I didn't know what that had nothing to do with the music or the tour. It just really, they're trying to, in documentaries, some of the cheap tricks they use is they introduce a person like this, but they're like, oh, there's a different side to him. Here's a man who just loves the music, and let's focus on the artist. And I'm like, I don't know why that was necessary, because Woody Allen's whole comedic persona that he does in real life as well is just complaining. He always complains. He rants.
Yeah.
So just framing him of like, here's all this luxurious stuff, yet he's still miserable. I mean, I didn't get the point of it. It's only like an hour later, and wow, it's a tough hour to survive. It's only an hour later.
It's an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah,
in
total. But only an hour later, he starts talking about how, well, this is very unusual for him. He lives in New York. He lives the life of a writer. He doesn't leave his neighborhood. He knows where to go to get food, to go to the theater, to go to the movies. That's where he likes. He doesn't enjoy the attention or the photographers or the hotels. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. But that's not what we saw so far. What we saw so far was, or what we were watching so far, was you complaining, you hating your life, you hating your movies, talking about how you don't want to make the show a show, because when the performance becomes a performance and you do something for the audience to enjoy,
you need to change it up.
Yeah, because you're gonna get bored and you won't enjoy it anymore. You know, screw the audience. Them paying you is just something you have to put up with. You know, it's just something that you need to accept, that somebody is gonna pay you to perform.
You know, you kind of make it a hostile, but he just seems like he's got a kind of a grumpy essence. But he's very nonchalant. It's not even that he's trying to be like negative. He just is like very, man, I don't know why. And then Sunyin's got to explain to him why it all works out. He's like, okay, well. He just seems very aloof. And that aloofness is always what draws people away from him. But
it is funny though. Like when they were in, Venice, and again, a very cute shot of them just cuddling up, riding on gondolas, which is cool. And then, tourists start taking photographs of it, and Woody's like, well, they don't pay 10 cents to see one of my movies, but riding in a gondola, they love it.
Yeah, proper bitter.
But also, 10 cents? It's 97. I mean, it was at least $10-15, It's like, motherfucker, 10 cents.
And these are the fans that love you, by the way, Woody. So I don't know why you're talking shit about them. If you want to talk about people paying money and trying to crucify you, then you want to go back home to New York, see America.
Yeah, ride a bus. See what happens then. Don't ride a gondola.
Look, man, we already said our piece about this, but there's one more thing right at the end that really made this worth it. It was so fucking unexpected. And let me tell you something, man. Again, Woody Allen, some of the most surreal moments of his life is his real life. That's just that what? And at the end, you get to meet Woody Allen and his goddamn parents. And let me tell you something, man.
It explains everything you need to know about Woody Allen.
Do you remember Radio Days, Simon? Do you remember Radio Days?
I remember Radio Days, and I remember New York Stories.
And Take the Money and Run, where he's parodying his parents. I'm like, you see them, and the way they're talking is the same way in these movies. They're being stereotypical. They criticize them, and the funniest joke of all, which is, honestly, I thought it was the realest moment, is when they were talking about Swingin. It's like, yeah, you married a Chinese girl, an Asian girl, and they couldn't even get
like,
it right.
I'm not Chinese. And they're like, but you're Asian. But
then we wish you would have married.
But because I'm Asian, I'm not Chinese. That's not the same thing. It's like, but they're like, yeah, but that doesn't. I'm still sad. I wanted him to marry a nice Jewish girl, because
Yeah, right, straight out of New York Story with Auto Direct.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And because because of this, one day all the Jews will die out, and that's a very sad thing.
I was like, what, my older? It was so embarrassing. It was just like those movies where your parents embarrass you, and it was like, wow, man. The stereotype is real. And I was like, Woody Allen is 60 at this point, and his parents are still alive. They get to see him perform. And by the way, that last scene, he was showing them all his accolades. He was, when I went to both sides, this fight. It was that part I was kind of just rolling my eyes. But he was like a little kid showing his parents all of his accolades. And it was kind of cute, but he's an old man. It was like, this is a fucking comedy.
Yeah, and his parents didn't get, like, his dad was just like, you should have opened a drugstore or something. I was like,
yeah, he was like, oh, you would have been a better drug dealer than the film director. Honestly, it was the best. It was like, this is a joke.
It's crazy.
They should have been through the whole movie. It would have been hella funny.
Woody Allen is like his own mother, because his mother looks like him.
Yeah,
I thought it was him in makeup and a wig. And also, the craziest part for me was that they keep asking about his movies, like which one of his movies do you like? He's like, nah, I don't really like him. And what do you think about his movies? Do you think, and his writing, do you think he takes a lot from his own life? Does he write about his own life? And he's like, I don't think
His mom was like,
his mom's like, I don't think he writes about himself, I think he adds certain things and subtracts certain things in his life, but I don't think he wants his life in a movie. And I'm like, you're literally in a documentary about him. and also you're literally sounding like all the female mother characters he ever did, including the one he had killed off in a movie. He had this, in New York Stories when he was like grinning when his mother was being
sawed in half.
Saw it having stabbed through a box, by a magician, all this stuff.
That's not anything like what Woody Allen really
of course he never.
No.
Stardust Memories, when his parents just scolding him about how he's a terrible filmmaker, and he's like, I don't want to do funny movies.
Yeah,
I don't sound funny. I'm like, of course he never makes movies about himself. No, not at all.
Hey, look, man. Talking about this movie is a lot more funnier than actually watching it. It's a drag. It's an hour and 45 minutes, and honestly, I'm not gonna say it's like a puff piece, but it's mostly about Woody and Swingin, which isn't a bad thing. To be honest with you, a lot of defenders of Woody Allen and the controversy are gonna be happy to see this and see that they are normal. He's not just a crazy paedophile, and this. It still seems like this weird parental relationship where she's just reaffirming and supporting and comforting him. And for a man, if you're a man in your 60s and you got a young woman looking after you, that's fucking awesome. Putting aside all the controversy.
It could be worse.
It could be. And I'm not going to lie, 'cause like I said, we already did a whole podcast on that, so I'm not going to get into that. But again, in a way, it was nice to see, and there was some good things to see. But honestly, guys, I will say this for the record. Don't go out of your way to see this. If you want to rent on Amazon, go ahead. Looking at this, there is a lot of reviews for this actually, because some Die Hard fans went out of their way to find it, and they liked it.
Well, that's people for you. They don't pay 50 cents to see the movie in the theater, but they pay £10 to get this goddamn documentary. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, every good thing we mentioned is a total runtime of maybe 3 minutes. Out of 40 something, an hour and 40 something. Maybe.
I'll say 10 minutes. 10 minutes solid.
Solid
10 minutes.
That's being generous. It's less than 10. I'm telling you, it's 5 minutes max. Because the scene with his parents is at the end. It's very brief. Talking about his films and other directors, that's brief. Talking about how he thinks awards are subjective, because you brought up Marlon Brando in a Streetcar Named Desire. That even as a kid he thought, wow, nobody else could get an Oscar that year, and he didn't win that year, so he thought like, wow, it must be very subjective, which is his way of saying it's bullshit.
He was wrong about that, but he remembered that wrong. It's even on IMDb that he got confused about that. But either way, his point was still clear. It was still valid, but he just got the dates wrong on that. But yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's all far and few between. If it was a documentary of him and Sun Yin, that would have been good. But it's more like that's what they're trying to shoot, but they have to keep
the music.
Yeah, you have to keep convincing Woody that it's about the tour and the music. So you see him do press events and walk around and
reluctantly.
Yeah, and
interact
with photographers a lot again, which is like, not Stardust Memories again. It's like I don't need that. Even that movie, people love it now, and I'm like, just no, just. Yeah, please. I like interiors, okay, and they dissed the hell out of interiors.
They dissed the hell out. They were laughing. I love that part too.
Yeah,
interiors. Sun Yin was like, interiors are so. What did she say?
She thought it was awful and long and boring and dragged out. And Woody was like, I really like that movie. I'm like, yeah, Woody, I agree with you
he
there.
He did say that actually. He actually defended that and Stardust Memories. I think even.
But then he ruined it by bringing up Stardust Memories. I was like, nah, here we go again. That you and that damn movie. Like his worst movie ever.
All right, let's wrap this up, man. Guys, again, this is probably going to be one of our last detours, because honestly, we've done all of the side stories, all the mini movies. Now we're going to get back to the core filmography. But guys, if you're wondering about this movie documentary, now you know. If you've seen it, let us know in the comments down below. And I really, really have to thank my boy Simon for following me on this one, because it was painful for both of us, but we got through it. And again, we're being completionists on this Woody Allen filmography, and this is a testament to that.
Yeah. Now I'm quoting Woody Allen's mom. Okay, we can get out now.
Yeah, that's what she said. Get the fuck out. That's what she said.
She ends a documentary.
Yeah.
Like not even like at the end of the interview. It's like mid-interview, mid-sentence. She's like, "Okay, you can get out now." It's like I'm not even gonna follow my finish my point. Just get out of my face.
She must have saw husband and wife. That's what Woody Allen was like. Are we done now? Let me get the fuck out of there.
Like,
So.
Exactly. You can get out of my house.
Yeah, so anyway, on that note, guys, if you like the retrospective, if you like our covering all of these movies, even the minutiae ones that no one else is going to watch, let us know in the comments down below. Thank you, Sam, for coming on this one again. And guys, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Thanks for listening on the podcast. And until the next one, we'll see you on the next recording.
How many movies till match point?
I'm
I'm kidding.
10,